Welcome everybody, Souldin of the Grin brothers here, and it's tea time yet again. I've got my serene jasmine green tea, and I've added milk to it. Yep, I'm doing this straight off of the previous episode. So, let's have a quick try. Oh, that is nice. That is really nice. I'm also glad, looking from the sound recording, that it's not picking up the annoying sort of knocking sound I'm hearing constantly. Because someone is clearly working on some building work on some stairs or brick stairs or something nearby. So I'm very glad that doesn't appear to be picked up on the sound recording. Although I will apologise if you hear any sort of dogs or cars or such. You know, the place where we're currently recording isn't really very good for sort of not picking up all these extra sounds. In future, hopefully, we'll be moved into a room where there is less chance of additional sounds occurring. Well, the dogs are going to be the exception. Always the exception. So then, straight off of the previous episode of the Legend of Zelda U discussion, it ended up moving me to make a different discussion. This time on Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and the Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD. Now, this is something that I've actually wanted to discuss for a long while, but it was actually something I thought about discussing in a video really early on in the Grin Brothers. Ironically, Rafi told me that he didn't want me to start coming up with tons of different show ideas and trying to do them all at once, because, you know, we got to stick to a thing and sort of do it at a time, sort of thing. You know, don't. He says that other people don't sort of like introduce tons of different shows at once. You got to stick to one thing at a time. However, ironically, things happened which meant that we had to have another thing sort of prepared to fill in times when our videos were stopping. So, of course, tea time came to be. And this was literally the first thing I thought about discussing. It was a discussion with Rafi one day, wherein I was telling him what my favourite Zelda games of all were. And my fifth favourite Zelda game is The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. My fourth favourite Zelda game is Hyrule Warriors. My third favourite Zelda game is The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. My second favourite Zelda game is The Legend of Zelda A Link to the Past. And my first favourite Zelda game, my most favourite Zelda game of all, is The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD. Now, Ralph pointed out to me that I'd already said The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. I said to him, or clarified to him, that I actually said The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD. And I felt that the HD version differed enough to the point that you could count it effectively as its own entry, even though it's telling the same story. Rafi rebutted me on this remark, and so I thought I should go about explaining my opinion. Frankly, this sort of thing would probably be better done as, like, with both of us, is in a debate, but then I figured I'd probably end up explaining my opinion for so long that he wouldn't get a chance within a 10-minute video anyway. Anyway, I believe there are some key differences between Wind Waker and Wind Waker HD. Both small differences and, you know, key differences. One of the most striking differences I found was in the controller. Now, of course, when you port a game to another system, the control scheme is going to change usually, unless the system is able to use the previous system's controllers. And I feel the gamepad added a lot to Wind Waker HD and how Wind Waker is played. You've got this is because of the gamepad's unique features. I mean, the GameCube is a great controller to play it, and I will say in the GameCube, in a positive point for the GameCube controller over the Wind Waker, Wii U gamepad controller. The Wii U gamepad is not called the Wind Waker. The GameCube controller has a very large A button. And this is great because Wind Waker utilises the counter feature a lot for combat. And having a very large button for counter is very effective. And is just like a nicer thing to sort of press. Whereas the Wii U gamepad is a lot smaller and isn't quite as satisfying to press. It doesn't come as quite as instinctively. It's clear to see that Wind Waker was certainly designed around the usage of the GameCube controller. That said, the GameCube gamepad controller... The Wii U gamepad has its own unique features which the Wind Waker HD puts to great use. For instance, gyroscope. When aiming, I can use the gyroscope controls, or even with various other features using the gyroscope controls. I can look around with the gyroscope controls. this is always something that I've been able to enjoy, even though at times it can be a little bit awkward. There's also the fact that the gamepad has brilliant shoulder buttons in my opinion, and it also has, to its advantage, a touchscreen. And in being able to utilise its touchscreen, you're able to do things without pausing the game. This is pretty cool in the middle of battle, and it's pretty cool being able to have your map and then switch it between items without ever having to pause. Dogs, quiet! Very sorry about that. That was to be expected at some point. Without having to pause to be able to look at your map. That is a really neat feature to take advantage of. I'll explain why the dogs are barking. There's two dogs. But another way it's a really neat feature is when on the boat. And you can start sorting out your items and such and checking your map while on the boat. And because your boats effectively can just be put on autopilot in a way, you don't have to look at where you're going for a while. Because there is a large distance to travel. So you got given plenty of time to sort things out. And speaking of the boat, a little bit off of the control of the situation, the boat's also been innovated in a sort of better way through having the, you've got the D-pad, which can be used to activate each of the sort of various things, the Wind Waker and such. Although, if I remember correctly, this was probably a feature in the GameCube one as well, because it also had a D-pad. But what wasn't in the GameCube version was the improved sail, which does dramatically increase time. Even with that increased time, you're still going to get a bit of time where you want to just sort of like browse through the gamepad. And this was very helpful, particularly when trying to find all the fish. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but trying to find all the fish and feeding the bait and so such. It really added to the experience. I really hope those dogs really don't keep barking over me. It's going to be hard to hear. Another key feature, though, is the Tingle Tuner and the Tingle Bottle. The Tingle Tuner is only in the GameCube version, and that's disappointing considering the Wii U gamepad would have been perfect to use in place of the Game Boy Advance. Tingle Tuner, unless The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past for the Game Boy Advance with the Four Swords additional story mode came out before Wind Waker, the Wind Waker could possibly be the very first Zelda game with co-op gameplay. After all, you could play as Tingle using the Game Boy Advance and the Tingle Tuner. And this was a really cool feature that I'm disappointed didn't return. To make up for this though, in being able to sort of interact with other people, they added the Tingle Bottle, which is great because the Tingle Bottle utilises the Miiverse feature exclusive to the Wii U. And it really does help you feel connected with people sort of getting all these bottles and such and getting advice and such. What makes this truly great though is the Tingle Bottle's usage in regards to the Pictobox and trying to get all the figurines in the Nintendo Gallery. That is a brilliant usage of Miiverse. I spent so much of my time simply just trying to get all the sort of pictures and figurines and such. I still haven't to this day, but it felt very nice to be able to share the pictures with other people by putting them in Tingle Bottles and sort of obtaining pictures thanks to Tingle Bottles. And it really, really made the Pictobox feature come to life. It innovated it in a great way, which made it a big focus. It made it one of the most fun sort of side quest sort of things you can do in the game, and it really made me feel like I was connecting with people even without sort of properly interacting with them, and it felt like it wasn't just my own sort of quest as I sort of came across all these Tingle Bottles. I hope this sort of feature would hopefully get to be used in other games in a similar way. Maybe in the latest Zelda U, you can also stumble up across Tingle Bottles. In fact, I just hope Tingle appears in Zelda U at all. And those are the sort of biggest features which I feel the Wii U gamepad Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD really made it feel different compared to the GameCube version. Admittedly, I wouldn't be surprised if some people said that they preferred the GameCube version because of the features such as the Tingle Tuner and the fact that it's got such a large A button. But even then, the Wind Waker HD has its own sort of smaller features. It's in HD, which I don't think is a huge difference, but it's nice enough. Of course, I've already mentioned its biggest sort of differences in its gamepad and its Tingle Bottle, but also other smaller features include Hero Mode. And Hero Mode is a great little addition where you can sort of, when you play through the game again, because when you play through the game again on GameCube version, you got yourself a new suit and you can sort of hear the translated language. For me, when I plan to play through the game again and having to speak louder to stop the dogs from interrupting, when I play through the game again, I'll be able to play through it on Hero Mode and have myself a tougher experience, as well as looking fabulous in my blue Scorpion shirt. And I hope all this dog barking hasn't sort of caused too much of a problem for you, nor people opening the door. It was probably not the wisest idea to do this discussion that I've always wanted to do on the Wind Waker at this sort of time, but hopefully you've been able to listen to my key points so far. I could summarise, but I think I've kind of repeated myself on some of the features, which is probably a common problem with me. I tend to repeat myself from time to time. So yeah, I do feel that Wind Waker HD differs enough from Wind Waker to be classified as its own sort of thing. The differences in control, the differences in how its console's mechanics are utilised, and the slight improvements that are made to really improve the experience and what makes it my favourite Zelda game to date, are sort of significant enough differences to be able to list Wind Waker HD and Wind Waker as separate entries on my favourite Zelda games list, which I could possibly go into a top 10 or something, or top 6 someday, or even probably go into depth explaining my reasons why each of them are my favourite Zelda games. In any case, you may disagree. Feel free to. You may agree. Feel free to. If you want to share your opinions, please do so below, because I've already shared my opinion in like a sort of almost 12-minute sort of video, so you might as well be free to share your opinion as well. This is good. This serene jasmine green tea with milk is good. Unfortunately, it's gone cold, so it's not quite as pleasing. Anyway, that's my little discussion on, I guess you could call this episode Wind Waker HD vs. Wind Waker? Maybe not. I haven't decided on these episode titles yet. I'm just discussing things. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and cheerio!